want you to show me how to get to know someone like you, someone like you. I want you to know me, cause I know then you'll see we can be true, we can be true. I want you to see what I see in us, something so real, something so real. I want you to see that.
Hey, what's up YouTube? TNT MTB here. I'm Trent.
And I'm Allie.
And we're going to give you guys a tour of our newly finished Promaster van that I've converted into a camper.
Tony Vanza.
Yeah, that's what we named him, is Tony Vanza, because he's the boss. I originally chose the Promaster van because it's a lot cheaper than a Sprinter. You still get the stand-up room in the top. It gets about 17 miles to the gallon. I didn't have to shell out a bunch of money to buy a diesel engine. This one runs on gas, so it's pretty efficient, it's cheap, and it gets the job done.
So Trent's initial plan was to take this on weekend trips, but I've kind of convinced him that we need to go and try out van life full-time. So we're taking this on an extended vacation, which we'll talk a little bit about at the end of the video.
So stay tuned if you guys want to figure out where we're heading. But let's get this tour started. We're going to start up with the cab. Alright, so first we're going to start with the cab. The van is actually a 1500 Promaster, or a half-ton. I got the 136-inch wheelbase because it's shorter. Drives pretty much like an SUV. I think it's even shorter than like some of the Suburbans. Pretty basic interior. It's got Bluetooth for stereo and phone controls. You got like 7 cup holders through this thing. Couple little decks here and there. Each door has a big pocket and a cup holder and then a shelf in the top. There's a shelf here in the middle in front of the passenger. There's this kind of hidden glove box up top. Then you got your standard glove box in the bottom. It's front wheel drive, which a lot of people think is weird for a big vehicle like this, but through all the snowstorms we had in the winter, this thing did awesome. I never slid off the road or got stuck or had any issues whatsoever. But yeah, the turning radius on the Promaster is the best in its class, which is like absolutely amazing for a van this big. You can turn around without doing like a 3-point turn in most small streets. So I think that's about it for the front of the van. We're going to go ahead and take a step back into the kitchen and let Allie show you around.
So one of the first modifications we did was install a swivel seat in the passenger side, which is really nice for extra seating. Space is a premium in the van, so it's nice to be able to lounge facing both directions. And then you're in the kitchen. So in here, Trent does not have any previous experience woodworking, but was able to learn from YouTube and create these cabinets. These hold all of our food. They stay open, which is really nice. And sometimes things get moved around, but these magnets that he installed helps keep the doors closed so that nothing falls out while we're driving. One of the next things that Trent did when it was like 0 degrees this winter was install a window. He cut through his brand new van to put this in. It's really nice for airflow while we're cooking, and it opens a little bit in addition to this fan up here. The backsplash is also handmade by Trent, and it's perfect for housing the curtains that cover up the windows. So the curtains can just get pulled closed, and they're blackout curtains, so when we're sleeping it stays nice and dark in here. It also helps keep the area cool if it's really sunny outside. And it's perfect because the curtains can just fit behind the backsplash so they don't get wet or messed up by food while we're cooking. We got this really nice modern faucet from Amazon and a nice deep stainless steel sink that's mounted flush against the countertop. It doesn't take up a ton of counter space, which is nice, but it works quite well. Next to that is our Purell hand dispenser, which is nice for when you're just on the go and need to quickly clean your hands. We have our Moscow Mule cups, as well as a nice little hanging sponge plant. It's those little additions that make it feel a lot more like a home and less just like we're living out of a car. Over here we have an outlet, which is really handy for while we're cooking using our induction burner, which I'll show you in a second, or for charging phones or whatever other small appliances we need to charge. We have a couple spice racks here and candles, just a couple little items. Okay, so over here we have our gray water and fresh water storage tanks. They're each 5 gallons, which is more than enough for our needs for just a little bit of light hand washing and dishwashing. We also have some of our essential cleaning items, wet wipes, toilet paper, dish soap. There's a fire extinguisher, which we hoped we never need to use, but better to be safe than sorry. We've never used these dish towels. Things you don't realize until you live in a car. On the other side we have all of our cooking supplies. Up here is a tray with neatly organized silverware, knives, other spatulas and cooking utensils. This basket has all of our plates, cups, dishes, and then down here we have just our pots and pans. These are blackout curtains that we installed to kind of separate the cab from the living area. It's really nice for keeping this area cool when there's a lot of sunlight hitting the cab, and they're easy to open and close. Up here there's a built-in storage area that comes with all of the Promasters. It's perfect for just kind of extra random stuff. We have jackets stuffed back there, extra gas cans, tow straps, stuff like that. This is our light switch. It's really nice and sleek and out of the way. It's a simple touch screen with a dimmer built in. So you just tap it on and then slide your finger down to change the intensity of the lights. So over here we have our fridge. It's just your standard mini fridge, but it's actually quite a bit bigger than the size of fridges that are in most vans. We do have a latch that keeps it closed while we're driving, which is really nice for when we're going around corners. There's a ton of storage space in here. It keeps it nice and cool. We have a thermometer to monitor the temperature, and it even has a nice ice box that you can freeze ice in and keep things really cold. So this is our induction burner. It just plugs into the wall outlet right here. It's extremely precise. You can set the exact temperature that you want to cook your food at, and it's super efficient, so it doesn't use a ton of electricity, which is really nice when we're always in conservation mode. And it's really easy to clean and stores nicely under one of the shelves. We also have another light switch under these cabinets, which is really nice for if you're cooking and don't want to wake up the person sleeping next to you in the bedroom. You can just light up the area right in front of you, see exactly what you're cutting up late at night. Just food, guys, not humans.
Alright, so I'm going to take you guys through some of our storage. This is going to be basically our toiletries cabinet. Mounted a mirror here because girls need that kind of stuff. You can take it off and use it to make sure you're still beautiful. And then it just slides back down into its spot there. It's nice and secure, doesn't go anywhere. One thing you have to have for van life is a dust buster, or whatever they call these tiny little vacuums. Super awesome. Way better than sweeping and wiping stuff up is to just be able to vacuum. A lot of people wonder where we're going to go to the bathroom, where we're going to shower, things like that. This is actually our shower. You fill this up with water, you lay it in the sun. Has a thermometer that tells you when it's ready. And then we have a setup in the back where you hang this in between the 2 doors and basically just rinse yourself off. Super, super luxurious for van life as far as I'm concerned. Then we just have some of our basic toiletries, deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrush, things like that, soap. It's kind of like our junk drawer as well, so it's got pretty much all the random stuff. Selfie stick, because you got to have that kind of stuff. I don't know if you can really see from there, but we have a toaster oven, which is super gourmet for living in a van. We make bruschetta, chocolate chip cookies, pizza, basically anything we want in the toaster oven because it has a conventional bake setting, so it's kind of like having a little oven. Super sick. We have a couple little storage baskets here. Got a bunch of the dog stuff in there. This one's just for random things to throw in. We've got a fan. This is actually for Frank, the dog, to keep him cool when he's in the van. We open up the roof vent and the window to get air circulating in here, but then he's still being kennel trained, so I actually built a kennel into the bottom of this shelf. If you guys can see, there's 2 latches on here. It's fully open in the front with wire mesh, and then the back we drilled about 10 1-inch holes that let him have some airflow. So the fan actually blows into the kennel, air goes out the back and circulates while the air is circulating from outside. Keeps him nice and cool. We've got a stationary water bowl in there so that he always has water. He doesn't have a chance to step on it and spill it while we're not around. Longest he's ever locked in here is maybe like an hour or 2. It's not like we're leaving him in here when it's 100 degrees outside and he's, you know, risking of overheating or anything like that. Also in here, you guys can't really see it, but there's the remote charge controller for the solar. It tells you what wattage or what voltage your battery bank is at. It tells you how many volts are being put in by the solar panels at any given time. If you hadn't guessed by now, this van's powered by solar. You see the outlets here, so a lot of people are probably wondering, you know, how much power we have or where's it coming from? How do we run this big fridge and the induction burner and not worry about running out of power? We've got 2 100-watt Renogy solar panels mounted on the roof. They come down to a 40-amp MPPT solar charge controller, and that actually charges a battery bank with 4 deep cycle batteries. They're sealed lead acid batteries, and each one's 100 amp hours. So we have 400 amp hours of solar power. Also, I have a smart switch connected to the alternator, and that makes it so that whenever the van is on and running and it's charging more than 13 volts, it's also charging the battery bank in the back. But then when you shut the van off, it disconnects that connection so that you can drain this battery bank down and still start the van no matter what. Something I highly recommend, because if you go places where you don't get a lot of sun exposure and your solar panels don't charge your batteries up, you might be SOL and out of power, and that smart switch is definitely going to save your life. I'm going to take you guys from the kitchen slash bathroom slash storage back over here into the bedroom and show you guys where the best part of the van is. So when I decided to build out this van, with it being the 136-inch wheelbase, it's only about 6 feet wide by 10 feet long, so 60 square feet. I had to be really ingenious with the way I put things together to make sure we were optimizing space, not just for storage, but actually usable space. So rather than building like a regular platform bed, I tried to be very creative or very resourceful and do something that I hadn't actually seen done before. And I'm going to show you guys how this converts. So take the blanket. By the way, you have to have throw pillows if you're going to live in a van. If you don't have throw pillows, then you're just living in a car, in case you guys were wondering. So this center cushion here pulls out and actually pushes up here, and it's a backrest, and then you can see these wood slats are actually alternated underneath the bench here. So this actually slides all the way in. So this makes what obviously you can see is a bench. And then the most creative part that I could think about was getting this piece to work. Ooh. Our dream catcher's seen better days. Anyways, so that cushion slides forward. This becomes your office, your dining table, your lounge, basically anything you want. You can slide the table back in and use it as a footrest, or you can have it out. It's really nice for eating, if you need to work on a laptop, anything like that. But yeah, that's really what I did to maximize the space, is to make a coffee table hinge. All that's stored underneath here is all the deep cycle batteries, the 1500 to 3000 watt inverter, the charge controller, and then some storage that's accessible from the back. This is where we store our clothes. There's my side, and then there's Allie's side. And we found that these two cupboards pretty much hold about all the clothes that we need. When you live in a regular house, you tend to want and need way more clothes than you actually need. And once you get into more of a minimalist lifestyle, you realize you don't really need that much. But let's step on over to the back of the van and I'll show you guys kind of what the ugly side of the van looks like. All right, so this is the ugly side of the van. It's kind of unfinished looking. Underneath here, so this part of the van, or this part of the bed actually lifts up. So our blankets and pillows that make up our regular bed are being washed right now, so they're not in here. But normally we roll that up, and then this piece lifts up so that we can slide that all underneath. There's also some spare tools, spare blanket, yoga mat, some other stuff that goes under there. This side is just storage. This holds all of Allie's mountain bike equipment. This one's all of my mountain bike equipment. Some random odds and ends. If you look underneath in here, these are the 4 batteries built into battery boxes. That's the charge controller and the inverter up there. If you're gonna build battery boxes like that, just make sure they're super secured to the frame, because if something happens to your vehicle and they get loose, they weigh like 60 pounds each and they will absolutely bulldoze through your vehicle. Got a bunch of bike tools in here. Some other random tools, a couple drills in case you need to fix anything on the road. And then this is probably one of the best features for anybody that rock climbs or boulders, knows that this is a crash pad. Whenever you're building out a van, usually finding space for your crash pads is really difficult. So I built this box that everything sits on top of. It's got rubberized undercoating inside it so that it can get wet and muddy and gross in there, and you can just hose it out or squeegee it out. That part is really nice about the van. Have somewhere to stick the crash pad. There's solar panels mounted up on top. I ran the cabling for the solar panels into the rear view camera housing and just siliconed them up on the bottom. That way I didn't actually have to permeate the roof to run the cables through, and I think that was a really good idea. If you have a Promaster and you're wondering how to do that, you can hit me up with questions. Anyway, I think that's about it. There's a plaque up here that Allie painted, and I love it. We got a carbon monoxide detector. That's the remote for the fantastic roof vent fan. That's actually really cool too. Everything's remote control, which is super sweet. Other than that, I think we've pretty much covered it all. If you guys have any other questions about the van or want to know anything else about me or Allie, just shoot us comments. Shoot us or questions in the comments.
Been there before. When a love shuts the door, it's a losing game. It's a losing game. But this time it's more than another love war. This ain't this.
Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the tour of our van. For those of you guys that stayed tuned to see where we're going on our trip, we're going to be heading through the Pacific Northwest to be tackling the best mountain bike trails that they have to offer in that region. We're heading from Utah up to Idaho, over to Oregon, Washington, British Columbia and Canada, then over to Calgary, then back down through Montana and Wyoming. So we're going to be posting a lot of videos about mountain biking, about van life, the day-to-day, trials and tribulations. You'll see some good stuff, you'll see some bad stuff.
We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to ride with you. Please give us a shout out if we're coming through your area.
Yeah, mention it in the comments. Make sure you subscribe and then shoot a comment to us. Let us know where you're at, maybe where some of the best trails are. We'll try to meet up with you or hit those trails at least. From me, Allie, and Frank, who's around here running somewhere, thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Just subscribe really quick, and then you can follow us on our trip. Just subscribe, please. Please subscribe. Thanks, guys.